Tom Breslin woke to his wife shaking his shoulder at 2:17 a.m. There's light coming from the equipment shed. Not the right kind of light, orange, flickering through the bedroom window that faced the back 40. He was out of bed before she finished the sentence, pulling on yesterday's jeans, boots without socks. The February air hit him like a slap when he opened the door. The smell came next, burning plastic, diesel, rubber, something chemical he couldn't name. The equipment shed was already fully involved. Flames pushed through the roof vents. The metal siding glowed. His 2022 John Deere S780 combine was inside. The 8R410 tractor was beside it. Both bought new, both financed, both insured for replacement value. He called 911 from the driveway. The volunteer fire department arrived 18 minutes later. By then, the roof had collapsed. They spent 4 hours keeping it from spreading to the grain bins. By sunrise, the shed was a skeletal frame of twisted steel and melted wiring. The combine was a $540,000 burned hulk. The tractor wasn't much better. The fire marshal said it looked electrical. Old wiring in the wall, probably rodent damage. No sign of arson, just bad luck, in February cold and something sparking at the wrong time. Tom stood in the ash at 7 a.m. with his coffee going cold in his hand, doing math he didn't want to do. Total loss, somewhere between $920,000 and $1 million depending on how the adjuster counted equipment, building, and stored chemicals. Deductible, $25,000. Insurance coverage, $1. $2 million aggregate on buildings and equipment. He'd be tight but covered. Spring planting was 8 weeks out. He could lease a combine short-term, get the tractor replaced, rebuild the shed by fall. That's why he carried insurance, or at least that's what he thought. 4 months earlier, the John Deere dealer had pulled into the yard in a white F-250 with the green logo on the door. Derek Paulson, early 40s, polo shirt tucked in even in October. He'd sold Tom the combine and the 8R 2 years prior. "Just checking in," Derek said, making sure everything's running smooth. They walked the equipment. Derek pulled out his tablet, asked about hours, performance, any error codes. Professional, friendly, building relationship for the next sale. Then Derek saw the barn. The old red Farmall H sat in the corner where it had sat for 15 years. Tom's grandfather's tractor, 1952. Hand crank start if the battery was dead. No cab, no electronics, no screens. Derek smiled the way salesmen smile at old things. "That's a museum piece." Tom said nothing. "I could probably get you $1,500 for it as a trade-in," Derek continued. "Put it toward a smaller utility tractor, something with a loader. GPS ready." "It still runs," Tom said. "I'm sure it does, but parts are hard to find. No dealer support, no diagnostics." Derek tapped his tablet. "Everything's moving toward integrated systems now. Telematics, remote monitoring. You want equipment that talks to the cloud." Tom walked back toward the newer machines. "Steel doesn't expire," he said over his shoulder. Derek let it go. He had bigger sales to make. The adjuster arrived on day 3, Phil Kenworth, 60s, clipboard and camera. He'd been doing farm insurance for 32 years, he said, seen everything. He spent an hour walking the debris field, taking photos, asking questions Tom had already answered for the fire marshal. "You kept maintenance logs?" "For the newer equipment, yes." "Serial numbers?" "All registered, should be in your system." Phil nodded, making notes. Then he asked about service history. Tom pulled out his phone, showed the service records from the dealership. Oil changes, filter replacements, annual inspections, everything by the book. "Software updates?" Tom paused. "What do you mean?" "Firmware. Manufacturer required updates for the engine control modules, telematics systems, GPS calibration." Phil kept writing. "When was the last time you had those done?" Tom tried to remember. The combine had thrown a software update notification in July, right in the middle of wheat harvest. He'd been running 18-hour days. The screen said, "Update available, schedule service." He'd meant to call after harvest. He never did. "I'd have to check," Tom said. Phil wrote something that looked longer than Tom wanted it to be. I'll need documentation on that, Phil said. Maintenance compliance is part of the coverage terms. Tom felt something cold settle in his stomach that had nothing to do with February. The email came 11 days later. Subject, claim, January BR 124-0847, status update. Dear Mr. Breslin, your claim is currently pending further review due to maintenance compliance concerns. Per your policy section 4.7b, coverage may be void if equipment is not maintained according to manufacturer specifications. Manufacturer specifications for John Deere S780 and an 8R410 include required software updates as part of routine maintenance. Our records indicate your S780 missed a firmware update cycle in July 2024. We require the following documentation: complete service history including all software updates, manufacturer compliance verification, explanation for missed update cycle. Processing will resume upon receipt of this information. Tom read it 3 times. Then he called Phil. It's a standard request, Phil said. Just need to verify compliance. The tractor burned. How does a missed software update matter? Policy terms, Tom. Equipment has to be maintained per manufacturer specs. That includes firmware now. Has for about 3 years. Nobody told me that. It's in the policy, section 4.7. Tom pulled out his policy binder, found the section. The language was there, buried in paragraph 3, subpoint B. Equipment maintenance compliance includes all manufacturer-required service intervals, including software, firmware, and diagnostic updates. He'd never read it that way before. He'd thought maintenance meant oil changes and filters, not code. Tom sat at the kitchen table at 11 p.m. with a legal pad and calculator. The numbers didn't improve no matter how he arranged them. Replacement combine, S780 equivalent, $540,000 replacement tractor, 8R410, $380,000 equipment shed rebuild, $185,000 total replacement cost, $105,000 insurance payout if approved, $180,000 after deductible, insurance payout if denied, $0. His operating line of credit with First National was $850,000. Current balance, $680,000 from pre-buying seed and fertilizer. Available credit, $170,000. Not enough to replace both machines, not even enough for one. He'd need a new loan. His phone rang. Bank number. Tom, it's Christine. His loan officer. I need to talk about your operating line review. Now? Your policy renewal is coming up. We need confirmation that your insurance claim will be paid before we can extend your credit line for spring. The claim's still processing. Silence on the other end. Then, how long? I don't know. Tom, without that payout confirmation, we can't approve additional financing. You're already at 80% utilization. He hung up 15 minutes later with a knot in his chest that felt like drowning on dry land. Without the insurance payout, he couldn't plant. Without planting, he couldn't make payments. Without payments, the bank would call everything due. 22 years of farming, and it all hinged on whether a missed software update voided his coverage. Tom called Derek Paulson the next morning. I need to ask you something about the firmware updates. Sure, what's up? Did you ever tell me they were required for insurance compliance? Pause. I'm not sure what you mean. The software updates, the notifications on the screen. Did anyone ever say they were mandatory for coverage? Tom, we recommend keeping firmware current for optimal performance, but insurance policies aren't written by us. That's between you and your carrier. But you knew about the compliance requirement. I know manufacturers recommend updates. What insurance companies require isn't something we track. Tom felt the conversation sliding away from him. When I bought the combine, you talked about all the technology, the connectivity, the cloud integration. You never mentioned it came with compliance obligations. We covered the features. Service intervals are in the owner's manual. Derek's voice had shifted. Professional distance. The salesman was gone. This was the corporation talking. Look, Tom, I'm sorry about the fire. Really, but the compliance stuff, that's between you and the adjuster. We just sell the equipment. Tom thanked him and hung up. He remembered Derek in the barn, looking at the Farmall, calling it a museum piece. Steel doesn't expire, Tom had said, but software apparently did. 3 days later, Phil called. Good news, your claims moved to internal review. What does that mean? Means the compliance question got escalated to the home office. They'll make a final determination. How long? 2 to 3 weeks. Tom waited. 3 weeks became 4, then 5. He called every Monday, same answer, still under review. His neighbor, Bill Kowalski, stopped by in week 6. You hear about the Hendersons? Tom hadn't. Fire last fall. Lost a planter and a sprayer. Insurance cut their payout by 40%. Why? Missed compliance on something. I don't know the details. But word is, companies are cracking down on the tech maintenance stuff. They didn't deny it completely? No, just reduced it. Said the equipment wasn't properly maintained, so depreciation applied differently. Bill shook his head. Lawyers would have cost more than the difference. Tom felt the ground shift again. Not denial, reduction. Another way to lose. Tom walked to the barn on a Tuesday morning in late March. The Farmall sat where it always sat. Dust on the hood, mouse nest visible in the air filter housing. No screen, no telematics, no update notifications, no firmware compliance requirements. He checked the oil, thick but present. Fuel in the tank from last fall. Battery probably dead. He found the hand crank in the toolbox, set the throttle, set the choke, positioned himself. 3 cranks and the engine coughed. 5 cranks and it caught, belching blue smoke, settling into the rhythmic chug of a 4-cylinder engine, designed when Eisenhower was president. Tom let it warm up, then climbed onto the seat. Metal. No suspension. The steering wheel was cracked leather wrapped around bare steel. He eased it out of the barn into spring sunlight. No GPS, no yield monitoring, no error codes. Steel doesn't need updating, he said to no one. He drove it to the 40-acre field behind the barn and started disking. Slow, primitive, but moving. The insurance decision was still pending, but the ground didn't care about paperwork. Tom's accountant called in early April. I had my attorney friend look at your policy. And? The compliance clause is enforceable. Manufacturer specifications do include software updates. Has since 2021 when they added telematics as standard equipment. Can they really deny the whole claim over one missed update? They can argue the equipment wasn't maintained per spec, which technically voids coverage. But, she paused, the update you missed was a GPS calibration patch. Had nothing to do with fire risk. So they're using a technicality, but fighting it means litigation, depositions, expert witnesses. You're looking at 18 months and $70,000 in legal fees, minimum. What are my odds? 50-50, maybe 60-40 in your favor if you get the right judge. But the insurance company knows most farmers can't afford to fight. Tom thanked her and sat with that information for a long time. He couldn't afford to fight. He couldn't afford to lose. He was trapped in the middle. Word spread. Other farmers started checking their update compliance. Some found missed cycles during harvest. Others found deferred updates from planting season. The local Farm Bureau meeting in mid-April had 47 people. Normally drew 20. Anyone else getting pressure from insurance on the tech maintenance clauses? Bill asked. 12 hands went up. Stories emerged. An inspector questioning combine sensor calibration, an adjuster asking about tractor telematics logs, a denied hail claim because GPS timestamps showed equipment in storage instead of field use. The John Deere dealer got calls, then complaints, then pressure from the regional office. But no villains emerged, no dramatic confrontations, just a slow realization that the terms had changed and nobody had announced it clearly. Insurance companies were using compliance clauses they'd always had. Dealers were selling technology they'd always sold. Farmers were farming the way they'd always farmed. The gap between those 3 things was costing people money. The letter arrived April 28th. Claims settlement offer, final. After thorough review, we are prepared to offer settlement under the following terms. Equipment replacement, $720,000, 65% of replacement costs due to maintenance non-compliance depreciation. Building replacement, $140,000 is contracted. Total settlement, $860,000. This represents a fair resolution given the documented maintenance discrepancies. Alternative is claim denial in litigation. You have 14 days to accept. Tom did the math. $860,000 minus $25,000 deductible, $835,000. Not enough for new equipment, enough for good used. Maybe a lease arrangement for the combine. Not what he'd paid for, not what he'd expected, but enough to keep farming. His attorney called. You could fight this. What would it cost? Time and money you don't have. Tom signed the settlement on day 12. He bought a used 2019 S770 combine for $385,000, leased a tractor for the season with option to buy. Rebuilt the equipment, shed smaller, cheaper. The bank extended his credit line when the settlement cleared. He planted on May 6th. Late, but not catastrophically. No victory, no defeat, just survival with conditions. Spring became summer. Tom ran the leased tractor for field work and the Farmall for the small stuff. Moving equipment, light tillage, running to town for parts. His daughter Emma, 9 years old, rode with him one evening in June on the Farmall. Why didn't the insurance people question this one? She asked. Tom thought about how to answer. Because it doesn't come with conditions, he finally said. She was quiet for a minute, watching the sun drop toward the tree line. Is that good or bad? Depends on what you need. The combine he'd leased had a screen that showed him soil moisture, yield projections, fuel efficiency, and maintenance schedules. It told him when to call the dealer. It logged every hour, every field, every operation. The Farmall had a fuel gauge and an oil pressure light. Both planted corn. By August, his yield numbers were average. Not great, not disaster. The insurance company sent him renewal paperwork in September. Premium increased 8%. New compliance verification requirement. Annual software update confirmation from dealer. Tom read it carefully this time. Signed it. Paid the premium. The fire had taught him one thing clearly. You couldn't own something you didn't understand the terms of. He kept the Farmall in the barn. Kept it running. Kept it simple. When everything burns, you find out what really belongs to you. That November, he paid cash for a used 8R tractor. 2020 model. Lower hours than the one he'd lost. He made sure the software was current, got documentation, filed it. The machinery still broke down sometimes. The weather still didn't cooperate. The market still moved against him. But he knew what the words in the policy meant now. And on the days when the screens and sensors and update notifications felt like too much, he walked to the barn and started the Farmall. No login required, no firmware to update, no compliance officer in an office 3 states away deciding whether his coverage was valid. Just diesel and compression and steel that remembered what simple meant. When the paperwork matters more than the machine, you learn what you actually own. Tom owned 1,140 acres, a mortgage, an operating line of credit, and the knowledge that insurance was a contract, not a promise. The rest was just equipment. Expensive, complicated, necessary equipment. But the Farmall, that was his.